every pony. Do you suck at chess? Are you really, really bad and stuck at 500 elo? Well, let me teach you the Traxler Counter Attack. When playing in beginner elos, one of the most common openings that you're going to find is the Scholar's Mate. The white side is most likely going to open with their pawn moving forwards on the king side. Then black will respond most likely with following up here. And the Scholar's Mate begins with moving your bishop to c4 and targeting this pawn on the king side. By targeting this pawn, since it's very weak, you're trying to create an advantage so you can instantly checkmate your opponent within only a couple moves. As white attacks this pawn here, you don't really know black's next move, depending on their elo, if they know this opening or not. If they know this opening, they will play against it, but for the sake of them not knowing, which you most likely won't know until you've encountered it, you might just develop your knight here. So from this position, white is going to move the queen here. Black responds, attacking the queen. White retreats, moving back to this starting point, still attacking this pawn. And for example, let's say that they bring out their bishop. Versus now we get an instant checkmate, and we win. Now let's say that the black team actually does know what's going to happen and they're going to stop the Scholar's Mate preemptively, preventing anything from occurring further. In this instance, both the pawns move forward, we bring out our bishop, and instantly black moves the knight to attack the central pawn. Having the knight here prevents any Scholar's Mate, as white can move here and they would be instantly taken, or white can move here, but in this position the knight is least likely to move since it is covering this key square and holding the queen back from instantly checkmating. So now, if your opponent knows what you're gonna do after you move your bishop out and immediately they bring out their knight, what is another good way to checkmate your opponent quickly? The second most popular method of instantly checkmating your opponent is doing the fried liver attack. The fried liver attack is very similar in that it is meant to put increased pressure on your opponent, but in this case, you're attempting to sacrifice your knight in order to gain material and good leverage over your opponent. It starts with pawn to e4, black most likely will meet in the middle, and then white develops out the knight first instead of the bishop to prevent this knight from moving out. Most players here will probably also develop their knight on the other side if they don't think that you're going to try and Scholar's Gambit them. From this position, then now we can develop our bishop and putting pressure on these key squares, and we can look for trying to move our knight upwards and to fork the queen and the castle here. Black sees that this is going to happen, and so then they finally feel like they need to respond with two knights before we then move our knight upwards in order to begin the sacrifice of this piece and try to instantly win. If they don't see what's going to happen here, which is going to be that we can move our pieces and target the king and sacrifice our knight, if black doesn't really know what's going to happen, they might just go and say, I want to attack this bishop here. But that isn't really a good move since we can just take thread in here. Black is still attacking, but it is all okay since they will take. And from this position, instead of taking with our bishop, which would be the wrong move, we take with our knight up here, since now we want to sacrifice this piece in order to gain better material. Black will most likely take because they want to keep their queen alive, and then we can simply go check. Then they have to move out of check. We go back again, and now we have good material gains. And now we have good material gains. This is the fried liver attack, and you will also see this very often when you come across elo. This is the fried liver attack, and you will see this very often when you play at low rankings of 500 elo, where they know very little theory and only strong openings to try to get your opponent off balance and to try to win almost instantly. Now you must be thinking, okay, now I know how to enact the fried liver attack, but how can I, as black, counteract it? And that's fairly easy. After they start their opening with the most common e4 response, they will probably bring out their bishop immediately, and by doing this, then you can react by bringing up your right pawn in order to start the two knights defense, and they respond with their knight trying to fried liver you. You see this method and you say, oh yes, the Italian game or the fried liver attack, they are most likely then going to move their knight here in order to gain a lot of material early on. So we can go into our Traxler method now and we can bring up our knight. By taking our knight, our method is to put this knight here and bring out our bishop. For our next move, they're going to go here. The opponent now is going to continue moving their knight in order to gain material, coming down here and setting up for the fork of the queen and the castle. Now, our response, instead of freaking out, trying to move our queen out of the way, what we're going to do is we're going to move our bishop up to this square, and we're going to target this pawn up on the king's side again. By doing this, we're going to put pressure with our bishop, and then we are going to move our knight in order to also attack this key square and end up sacrificing our bishop. So now they think that they are going to pull off this fork, they are going to eat our queen, they are going to take material. They take this position, but since we have our bishop here, we can sacrifice it to the king, which the king is obliged to take to gain back material. And now they think, oh, I can get this queen. But no, they're still wrong. You can move your knight here and put them in check again. This is the setup for the Traxler. From this position, there are a lot of different ways that this can go to now. If you want to look, you can see that from this position, white only has two good moves. They have to get out of check, and their only two strong positions are moving to this square or this square. Every other square is a blunder. So you can see blunder, blunder, blunder. But this is safe, and this is safe. And now I'll show you in multiple ways why. Here now let's go over a real game that I played with my friend where I used the Traxler to attack and eventually win the game. They both started opening with the E pawns, then they moved their horsey, and I moved my horsey, trying to take control of the center. They end up developing their bishop, which is creating a line targeting this pawn. We can also assume then that they're going for the fried liver, and if they aren't going for the fried liver, developing our knight isn't really going to hurt us at all. After we develop our knight, then white responds by full sending the fried liver attack, which we then respond with by moving our bishop, of course. After they do that, they go to their square to finish the fried liver, and then we attack the king. After the king is attacked, they decide to take the bishop, which we know is a interesting response. We then sacrifice our bishop to the king. From here, the king decides to eat the bishop, which we know is a risky decision for new players. From here, then we attack, finish our initial setup, and now we have to see where the king moves in order to decide what we're going to do next. In this case, the king moves here, which is a not very good position, which we know isn't a blunder, but depending on their next moves can be very detrimental to the game. Now in this position, we see that our horsey is going to be eaten, and we do not want our horse to get eaten. So what we need to do is protect our horse using our queen and getting it out of the way of this evil horsey down here. Boom! Our queen is now safe, and the horsey now can gain quote-unquote free material by wasting their move and going after our castle, which they decide to take and do. Now that our queen has moved here and we're safe from our pawn, they also cannot take the horsey, so the only directions that the king can move is in upwards direction or to the side. Those are the only two options since we are blocking off every other possible position. They decide to move to the right, which is an interesting choice since now we can move our knight here, attacking. Another alternate move could be to put our knight here, which would cause subsequent, we are going after this castle, we are going after this queen, and we are going after the knight, initially taking a lot of material away from the king right now. But instead, I went for the checkmate, went to this position, had him move up this direction, which then we move our piece and win the game. Hey, my name is R. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I posted some more random content, so if you'd like to stick around and see more, make sure to like and subscribe. Anyways, I hope to see you all again soon, and now I'm logging off. Bye!